The story begins with Tim, a video game developer, caught in a heated work call about project deadlines and bugs while his girlfriend Liv arrives home with exciting news. She has quit her job and wants them to take a spontaneous road trip to Paris for a fresh start together. Tim, however, is too consumed with his work obligations to leave immediately, leading to a devastating argument where Liv decides to leave him permanently, saying, "I'm going without you, and I won't be back." As their relationship crumbles in real time, something extraordinary and terrifying occurs. Both Tim and Liv become trapped inside their apartment building by mysterious black walls that have somehow materialized overnight, completely sealing off all exits. When Tim and Liv wake up, they discover they have no cell phone signal, no Wi-Fi, and are completely cut off from the outside world. The walls are made of an unknown material, not carbon fiber, not liquid granite, something entirely unidentifiable that has somehow encased their entire building while they slept. They soon realize they're not alone in this predicament. Other residents are also trapped, including Anna and Marvin, a young couple from Barcelona planning to get married next year, who were staying in an Airbnb, and Mr. Oswald, an elderly man living with his granddaughter Leah. The building's recent renovation work, overseen by their landlord, Mr. Friedman, suddenly takes on a sinister significance. The trapped residents begin working together to understand their situation. Tim, drawing from his gaming experience, approaches their predicament like a puzzle to be solved. They discover that the walls have magnetic properties, with the strongest magnetic fields concentrated at 4 specific square points that seem to invite interaction. When Tim attempts to interact with these magnetic points, the wall responds violently with electrical discharges, nearly injuring everyone. Meanwhile, Anna and Marvin struggle with their own demons, having consumed too many drugs, which leads to paranoid behavior, and Marvin becoming temporarily restrained for everyone's safety. Their worst fears seem confirmed when they discover Mr. Friedman dead in his apartment, but the truly disturbing detail is that his hands have been completely severed and are missing. This gruesome discovery sends Liv into a panic attack and raises terrifying questions about whether they're dealing with a psychopath, some kind of twisted game, or something even more sinister. The investigation of Friedman's apartment reveals extensive surveillance equipment, confirming that someone has been recording their every move. They find footage showing the exact moment the walls appeared, materializing seemingly out of nowhere while everyone slept. The group finds hidden surveillance cameras throughout the building, leading them to suspect they're being watched and possibly part of some elaborate, sinister game orchestrated by wealthy elites for entertainment, a Squid Game or Big Brother style scenario with their landlord, Friedman, as the game master. In the basement, the group encounters Yuri, who claims to be visiting his friend Anton, another resident who has been obsessively studying the walls. Anton has covered his space with complex diagrams and notes, trying to decode the seemingly random pattern of the wall's construction. However, their hope is short-lived when they discover Anton has died of apparent heart failure, though Yuri suggests the stress and obsession with the walls literally killed him. Anton's research reveals he worked for a company called Epsilon Nano Defense, located in Hoffen City, where there has recently been a major fire. As the group delves deeper into Anton's research, they begin to suspect Yuri knows more than he's revealing. Yuri maintains that the walls are a sophisticated defense system, protecting them from contamination outside, possibly nuclear, biological, or chemical threats. He insists they should be grateful to be protected from whatever catastrophe has occurred in the outside world. The tension reaches a breaking point when young Leah apparently discovers something important about how to escape. Yuri, claiming to protect everyone from the supposed contamination outside, murders Leah to prevent her from opening the walls. This horrific act reveals Yuri as the true antagonist, not someone trying to protect them, but someone determined to keep them trapped regardless of the cost. Despite Yuri's violent interference, Tim and the others piece together Anton's research. They discover that the seemingly random arrangement of bricks in the walls actually forms a complex optical code, essentially a three-dimensional QR code that can be read by a smartphone. Anton had been developing an app to decode this optical pattern, treating the wall like a high-tech lock that requires the right digital key. The magnetic squares they identified earlier serve as interaction points, buttons that must be pressed in the correct sequence to activate the wall's opening mechanism. As the group works frantically to decode the wall system, the extreme stress forces deeply personal revelations. Tim and Liv, facing what might be their final hours, finally confront the tragedy that drove them apart. They lost a child through miscarriage 2 years earlier. Tim admits that he shut down emotionally after the loss, burying himself in work instead of grieving with Liv or supporting her through their shared trauma. Liv reveals how abandoned and isolated she felt, watching Tim build a fucking wall around himself that she couldn't penetrate. Their current physical entrapment serves as a metaphor for the emotional walls that destroyed their relationship. Marvin and Anna also open up about their struggles, while Mr. Oswalt shares his military experience and fears about what might await them outside. The life-or-death situation strips away pretenses and forces everyone to confront their deepest truths. Using Anton's research and smartphone app, the group finally cracks the code. The wall system responds to a specific sequence of button presses, with each interaction generating distinct light flashes that indicate the correct pattern. They discover this sequence by analyzing footage from Anton's selfies. He had actually been documenting his attempts to solve the puzzle. The wall begins to liquefy when activated correctly, offering their first real hope of escape. However, the process is dangerous and unpredictable. When Marvin tries to reach through the liquefied wall, hand becomes trapped and the wall begins solidifying. In a desperate attempt to prevent their escape, Yuri makes a final, violent move to stop them from opening the walls. His fanatical belief that they're being protected from outside contamination drives him to extremes, viewing anyone trying to leave as a threat to everyone's survival. The confrontation becomes a race against time, as the group must simultaneously fight off Yuri and solve the wall's opening mechanism. Tim and Liv work together, their rekindled connection giving them strength in their darkest hour. In the climactic sequence, the wall system finally activates properly, beginning to open and reveal the outside world. However, Yuri makes a final desperate attempt to stop them, leading to a violent struggle. Tim makes the ultimate sacrifice, staying behind to hold off Yuri and ensure Liv can escape to safety. As the wall opens, Tim tells Liv to run and leave without him, essentially reversing their earlier conflict, where she wanted to leave together, but he refused to abandon his responsibilities. Liv escapes into the outside world, finally reaching safety after the harrowing ordeal that has tested every aspect of her physical and emotional endurance. The story concludes with a news broadcast that finally explains the mystery. The fire at Epsilon Nano Defense triggered a serious malfunction in a secret defense system, confirming that the walls were indeed a high-tech containment protocol gone wrong. However, the news report leaves ambiguous whether the fire was accidental or an act of sabotage, suggesting larger conspiracy elements may be at play. The state of emergency in Hamburg indicates the scope of the crisis extends far beyond just their building. The final message advises survivors to stay together, implying that Liv and others who escaped are not necessarily safe, but are at least free from their concrete prison and able to face whatever challenges await in the outside world.